We greedy. We starving. We want what's on their plate.
Coming into the 2024 season, the Minnesota Vikings were an afterthought for many.
And of course, losing on the road against the Chicago Bears. Kirk Cousins returns with the Atlanta Falcons in Week 14. That's a loss. A road game against the Seattle Seahawks. This is a toss-up for me, but I'm going to take the Seahawks.
The Chiefs, Packers, Eagles, Texans, and Ravens dominated the conversation. And the Vikings really weren't even on the radar. A lot of hype centered around the promising rookie quarterback JJ McCarthy. But after news broke that McCarthy would need season-ending surgery, many assumed the Vikings season was a wash. With Sam Darnold under center, the Vikings were expected to be a team hovering around 4 or 5 wins at best. I, for one, didn't see much hope for a postseason berth. But fast forward to today, and the Vikings are sitting at a surprising 8-2 record, shaking up the NFC and proving that they're more than capable of making a run. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the early season success. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 40,000 subscribers, and with your support, I believe we can get there super fast. Alright, so what has really been the key to Minnesota's success this year? First and foremost, it's their coaching staff. Kevin O'Connell, in just his second season as head coach, has solidified himself as one of the top 5 offensive play callers in the NFL. O'Connell's offense has evolved from a one-dimensional attack to a dynamic, multifaceted unit. It's impressive how he managed to keep the offense moving even after losing JJ McCarthy early in the year. Whether they planned on starting him or not, O'Connell has seamlessly integrated Sam Darnold into the system, using his strengths and minimizing his weaknesses. The Vikings have been running no huddle very often, and that keeps the opposing defenses on their toes. O'Connell's ability to mix up his play calling, including play action passes and motion schemes, has opened up big plays for Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. A prime example came in Week 2 against the 49ers, where O'Connell dialed up a perfect 97-yard bomb to Jefferson.
Going deep, and he's got Jefferson. He's got Jefferson. Shifting gears. Getting a block. That's 6.
That set the tone for the game and sparked the Vikings offense after a slow start. On the defensive side, Brandon Flores has transformed a previously underwhelming defense into a top-tier unit. Widely regarded as one of the most aggressive and well-coached defenses in the NFL, his defense has been able to generate pressure in a way we haven't seen in Minnesota for years. His blitz-heavy schemes and ability to disguise coverages have led to an NFL-high 30 sacks through the first half of the season, not including the last game. Thanks to key players like Ivan Pace Jr., Jonathan Grenard, and the newly acquired Stephon Gilmore, Flores has consistently outwitted opposing offensive coordinators with his blitz packages, helping the Vikings force turnovers and disrupt the opposing quarterback's timing. Against the New York Jets in Week 5, Flores used a zero blitz package that left Aaron Rodgers with no quick options, leading to 3 sacks and 3 interceptions. Now let's talk about Sam Darnold, a player who is never supposed to be the savior of this season, but who has proven to be just that for the Vikings, in his own way. There's no denying that his performance against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 9 wasn't his best. He finished the game with 241 yards, completing 24 of 38 passes with 3 interceptions and a passer rating of only 48.2. His average of 6.3 yards per attempt tells the story of an offense that struggled to push the ball downfield, and there were a handful of missed opportunities all over the place. But ultimately in that game, they were forced to grind out a win, and that's exactly what they did, relying heavily on their defense and special teams despite a rough day. Darnold still made enough key plays when it mattered, even in his struggles. He was able to manage the game and avoid making the final big mistake that could have cost his team. In fact, his ability to lead the offense in the second half with 3 field goals from John Parker Romo helped keep the Vikings ahead, proving that Darnold's ability to stay composed under pressure is what's allowed him to step up this season. And then he of course bounced back in Week 10 against the Tennessee Titans, throwing for 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. And let's really go in depth on the Vikings defense first, because they were the real MVPs in the game against the Jags. They were the key to this gritty victory. The Vikings held Jacksonville to just 143 total yards, which was the fewest allowed under coach Doug Peterson in his 3 seasons with the Jags. This was a total shutdown performance. To put that into perspective, Jacksonville's offense has been known to have explosive moments with Trevor Lawrence, but with Mac Jones filling in for Lawrence due to a non-throwing shoulder injury, the offense just never got anything going, even though that was to be expected. And the Vikings defense didn't just stop the Jags on the scoreboard. They completely neutralized them in every phase of the game. They held the Jags to only 10 first downs for the entire game. which is a stat that just jumps off the page. Minnesota also completely dominated time of possession, holding the ball for a staggering 42 minutes and 19 seconds, while Jacksonville had the ball for just 17 minutes and 41 seconds. That's a 24-minute disparity in time of possession, a clear indicator of how much Minnesota controlled the game. It wasn't just about stopping Jacksonville, it was about dictating the tempo. The Vikings' pass rush was relentless, with Jonathan Grenard leading the way. Grenard and his pressure on Mac Jones was a major factor in throwing off the Jags' rhythm. He was constantly in the backfield, forcing Jones to make rush decisions, and even though Grenard didn't finish with a monster sack total, his impact really was felt every time Jones went back to pass. Now let's talk about the Vikings offense, because despite the obvious struggles as of late, there's still a lot to be impressed by here. Going into this season, a lot of us expected a down year offensively, especially after the loss of JJ McCarthy early on. With Sam Darnold under center and a makeshift offensive line, it was hard to imagine this offense doing anything special. But in what has been a pleasant surprise for the Vikings, offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell has had this group playing much better than expected, creating an offense that is efficient, balanced, and capable of putting up points when it matters. Sure, Darnold has had his issues, like in that Jacksonville game when he threw 3 interceptions, but O'Connell's overall impact on this offense has been undeniable. Under his leadership, the Vikings have evolved from a team reliant on just 1 or 2 stars into a well-rounded offensive unit capable of attacking in multiple ways. O'Connell's ability to manage his personnel and scheme to their strengths has been a big reason why this team has had the surprising start they've had. In fact, despite some of the offensive struggles in the last 2 games, the Vikings' offensive efficiency in key situations was significant. The team still managed to run 82 plays compared to Jacksonville's 43, controlling the clock and wearing down the Jags' front line. That's a huge testament to O'Connell's play calling and ability to keep the offense on the field, even if the results in the red zone weren't as productive as they'd like. The Vikings also finished the game with a 402-yard total, a solid number that shows they were consistently able to move the ball despite Darnold's inconsistency. But O'Connell's ability to really scheme open plays and utilize his offensive weapons has been a major reason why the offense is even competent, let alone good. One of the most impressive aspects of O'Connell's game plans is his ability to open up the field for his players. Even though Darnold might not be lighting up the stat sheet every week, he has been able to efficiently distribute the ball to his playmakers, and O'Connell has shown time and time again that he just knows how to get the best out of his receivers and tight ends. With an 8-2 record, the Vikings are so well positioned to actually make a playoff run. They've already proven they can win in multiple ways: gritty, defensive slugfests like the Jags game, as well as high-scoring shootouts. The key to sustaining this success will be continuing to lean on the defense and special teams. They've been the backbone of this team all season, and as long as Darnold continues to manage the offense effectively and avoid bad mistakes, the Vikings should remain competitive in front of the bright lights. Looking ahead, the Vikings have a much-needed bye week coming up. I think it's going to be big just to rest and reset, because the Arizona Cardinals are coming, and they are another team that has just blown expectations out of the water. It's really going to be hard to contain Kyler Murray, who has really found a good balance of attacking defenses both through the air and on the ground with his legs. I'm really excited to see how this Minnesota defense responds to this test. But anyways, the Minnesota Vikings have far exceeded expectations this season, with Kevin O'Connell at the helm and Brian Flores leading the defense. The Vikings have built a solid, competitive team. Sam Darnold has stepped up when needed, the defense has been elite, and the offense has continued to click. As they head into the second half of the season, Minnesota has a real shot at not just making the playoffs, but making some noise once they get there. Here's what some of the media has had to say about this team.
Here's one of my big things, and I don't know, you tell me, right? But Minnesota needs to run the ball a little bit more. That's one thing I look at them when I kind of evaluate them and watch them on film. I do think that they give up on it a little too quickly. You can run the ball on the Bears defense a little bit. I think you need to run the ball in Minnesota a little bit just to help out Sam Darnold. I think, as you know and you've learned, if you're a Vikings fan, we don't want Sam Darnold throwing the ball 40 times a game. That usually means that there's going to be a few bad plays, a few Sam Darnold plays where you go, what the hell was that?
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and also let me know what you would like to see next. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, I will see you all later.